Hello and welcome to another Real People Big Astronomy program. My name is Renee Kerrigan. I am the Planetarium Director at the Peoria Riverfront Museum and also a member of the Big Astronomy Leadership Team. And I am pleased to have with me here Eduardo Toro, who is an Information Technology Engineer at the NSF's NOIRLab group of telescopes. So we're excited to talk to Eduardo today and learn a little bit about his job and about his life outside of astronomy. But before we get started with that program, let me tell you a little bit about what Big Astronomy is. Big Astronomy is a National Science Foundation funded project that has a whole bunch of different components to it. One of its main component was to create a planetarium show that features people like Eduardo and other people who work at these observatories in Chile, which has some of the best observatories in the world, to help people understand that it takes many diverse skills and backgrounds and many people to make big science discoveries happen and to make big science facilities work. You can find out more about that planetarium show, which is being distributed for free around the world in both English and Spanish, by visiting bigastronomy.org. There you'll also see some of our educator resources. We're just about to release the show to classroom use. You'll be also able to find out about the educational kits that were made by the Astronomical Society of the Pacific about this show. And you can see a whole backlog of these Real People Big Astronomy programs on our YouTube channel and on our website. Finally, there's educational research being done on this project by Michigan State University, and you'll have an opportunity to learn more about that at the end of the program today. But now I'd like to once again say welcome to Eduardo. Thank you for being here today. And I'm going to start sharing my screen so that we can learn a little bit about your job. So I know the first question we ask is a really basic question. So while I'm getting the screen sharing started, can you just tell us, Eduardo, a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Renee. Hello, everyone, wherever you are. As you know, my name is Eduardo Toro. I am information technology engineer working in NOIRLab, which is a National Optical Infrared Research Laboratory from the United States. And I'm member of the ITOPS, which is the Information Technology Operations. Right now, I'm living in La Serena, Chile, and I'm very close to the Aura observatories in Chile also. And as a member of the NOIRLab, my main activities are present in different programs. Who you mentioned, Renai, Cerro Tololo Inter-American Observatory or Gemini Observatory are of the amazing telescopes in the south. And particularly, NOIRLab is also included into the future the Rubin Observatory. Rubin is one of the latest telescope that is under construction in Chile. As a member of ITOPS, we are absolutely involved in all the activities related with information technology. And additional to that information, NOIRLab has a special community science and data center group that it's integrate all the human resources related to the scientific that are part of the teams in Chile, in Hawaii, and also in Tucson, in Arizona. So if you want to see more details about NOIRLab, I shared the noirlab.edu webpage that it's very important. It's really new HTTP or website because we are under construction, we are integrating, and we are growing with all the community right now.
Great. So NOIRLab is such a big group. Being an IT engineer that has to be in charge of sort of being able to keep all of these different facilities from different parts of the world working, especially now during COVID times when everyone's working from home. I imagine that that's very challenging. A lot of networks to maintain, a lot of equipment to take care of.
yeah, really, this is an amazing challenge working in this teleworking modality. But it's very important to understand that NOIRLab for now have more ambitious plan, including to integrate the bigger telescope that I didn't mention before, like TMT or like GMT, as to help that infrastructure to challenge the big construction that they have. Well, in relation with my activities or how I reach my career, I would like to mention that I just started in CTIO Observatory in 1987 because I study electrician or electromechanical area. So it was my first approach to the science of at least to the physics, mathematics, and I had very lucky because I obtained this position, but I realized that due to the lot of technology that Cerro Torolo had in that time, I decided after to study electronic engineer. I started my studies in Chile, in Valparaiso city, and all the time I thought if sometime I could return to CTIO. I finally I get it because 10 years after I could return as electronic engineer. However, before to do that, I passed or I did some activities and information technology companies like IBM Chile, which is a very amazing company, and also Sonda. Anyway, in the 1997, Cerro Dololo has an amazing changes after 10 years after that I started. But very slowly, I realized that the information technology start to be part of important of the observatories. And very slowly, I convert between electronic engineer to the network engineer. That was an amazing change because and that time it's hard to find in Chile people that know the information technology knowledge. That it's the thing that we need to understand in that time. For that reason, as electronic engineer, I could assume that responsibilities and also assume as that challenge, which is and my career very important change. And also the time 1987 is really important to me because it's related to another question for this presentation.
Well, I just think it's so interesting to hear that you got your training in an industrial school to be an electrician. So I imagine that's in the United States we have trade schools, so somebody might get training to be an electrician, um, and it's sort of a different type of work than the electronic engineering. So you went to work at CTIO and found that you really enjoyed that work. What motivated you to then choose to go back to university to get your engineering degree in electronic engineering? What was it that sort of gave you that, motivation?
Yeah, it is a really good question, Renee, because in that time I thought that the construction of instrumentation that Cerro Torolo did for a long time, even to develop the instrumentation of detectors, was a really an amazing challenge to me. I inspired about that kind of job, and Cerro Dololo has, in that time, even now, they still maintain an important development of instrumentation, but they create an amazing technology in order to detect the lights using astronomical instruments. So we have in Cerro Dololo a lot of electronic engineers, software engineers that integrate the capabilities even with mechanical engineers to create new technology, new instruments. That I saw in Cerro Doloro, and that inspired me to move to a more important challenge like electronic engineering.
The idea that you could help create something brand new, that sounds like exciting and motivating.
Absolutely, because that's not only include electronic, it's also include absolutely optics and many other science matters. Well, I continue working on this because when I finished in 2012, my activity in Cerro Dololo, I finished because uh, I applied to another position in Gemini Observatory, and I obtained that position. And I realized that Gemini Observatory, that in 2012 had at least 12 years of operation. They are very new telescope and they have more modern in terms of the information technology. Because in that moment, I just working as a formal network engineer because I moved to network engineer between electronics due to the consideration that I mentioned before, that I had interesting in, to satisfy some requirements and where the industry and also the observatory is moving. And Gemini Observatory provide me an important project, which was the change and replace all the network devices in the data center and 4 locations, 2 in Hawaii and 2 in Chile. So the base and the summit in each location. Hawaii was a really nice experience. It was very beautiful and also very interesting to go in Mauna Kea because we changed everything. So we put Gemini Observatory as a state of the art in terms of the technology. And that became to me or convert to me a more specializes in networking with certifications and also very slowly moved to my current position, which is information technology engineer in NOIRLab, attending not only the astronomy IT operation that is basically related with the telescopes, it's also to the business IT operations because we help a lot to the users and the community to create or to provide and configure collaborative tools in order to be more productive, to increase the performance. And that is right now our challenge because we are moving to collaborative tools in order to include and integrate all these big community of NOIRLab in Chile, Hawaii, and in Arizona. Uh, that is amazing because the core of this is basically the networking that permit the communications, the remote access, the teleworking, how I mentioned before, using the VPN, virtual private networks to go in that direction and provide even to the contractors an additional astronomers where different part of the world reach the remote access to remote observing.
Without your department, without your work, the NOIRLab really wouldn't be able to exist as a collaborative group at all because those locations are so disparate and spread apart. So that's pretty wonderful that you can help make people work together from different parts of the world. And I'm sure a lot of responsibility. If you're having a bad day, it affects, I mean, not you personally, but if something in your network goes down or your equipment goes down, it affects
Exactly.
so many other people.
Exactly. It's an error of any network engineer is basically collapse all the communication. That is not a good day
Yes,
for
not
everybody.
good.
So the pressure we need to maintain. And also, one of the challenges or interesting things with this activity is that you are working in real time. So if you fail in real time, everything is down. So that is interesting to me as to do exciting my job. Well, this is
Yeah,
an
we always like to
interesting
ask
question.
this: what was the biggest challenge in your career? So you have a really interesting path because you started in one way and then you sort of changed it, your path multiple times, or at least adapted multiple times in your career. So we like to ask folks what their biggest challenge was in their career because we hope that might help other people as they're thinking about their own lives and their own careers. Everyone has to overcome challenges. So, what was a way that you overcame a challenge in your career as well?
Yes, yeah, it's difficult when you decide to take any position or when you decide to study any professions. In my case, since I study electronic engineer, In 2000, around 2000, I had to take the decisions to move to the electronic engineer, formal electronic engineer, to another group, to go into another group, in order to advance in my desire to go in an IT network engineer. Was my first biggest change, because I realized that the information technology is the future, or was the future to me, in terms of to uh, increase the project to help to create the whole scenario in data centers and the communications. So I feel more comfortable with network engineer when I realized it was an important, and also that Cerro Tololo in that case in 2000 needs that kind of skills. That was was something that you need to do, uh, and it also is necessary to adapt, because you study something, but after the probably you move to any other areas and you need to study again, and that was my my interest in this case. There are another challenge, or biggest challenge, that currently is happening in my career and my team essentially, is when we are doing an upgrade of all IT network infrastructure, because we need to change everything without interruption of service, without to lose the operations. So when you are changing technology, but included new technology, you need to maintain that operation. That's a challenge, and we need to coordinate very well, if not fight to any other departments, but coordinate properly with a lot of people, and also maintain the operation, because we have many people involved, and this is a critical element of the functionality of the observatory. I think this is the two elements that I could mention as biggest challenge during my career and my actual activities.
It does sound like a big challenge to be able to put in all new infrastructure while not having a down night, or taking away from other the ability to do work while you're doing that upgrade. I understand that would be a large challenge. So we also like to ask, since we ask about a challenge in people's career, we also like to ask, what is your favorite thing about your job, and what is it? Why is it your favorite thing?
Well, my favorite things is the network design. It's basically when you need to migrate to a new technologies, and you need to prepare all the scenarios and coordinate many teams, many groups, many stakeholders in a project that permit to advance in the next generation of the technology. Um, Currently, we are just creating new draft of the network designs in order to provide new technologies, create prototypes, and at the same time maintain the current infrastructure. So to me, it's exciting because you need to study a lot of technologies that right now is part of the state of the art of the data center construction, and we need to prove the concept and adapt to the telescope. And in a sense, we need to combine the IT business activities with the operation technology activities. So it's some of the key points, even in the industry. Today, the industry is talking about the automation, it's talking about the digital transformation, and the observatory happen the same. So we need to move in that direction, but at the same, we need to maintain all technology that needs support for us.
I can see that that would be a fun part of your job, because it's probably how you get to be the most creative as well.
Exactly, it's more creative and also a challenge, and study a lot of things. So it's nice.
So then we always ask the other side of the coin. So what is your least favorite thing about your job, and why?
Well, this least favorite thing is basically the support of the obsolete technologies. It's really hard to try to maintain all technology and try to integrate with the new technology. This happens all the time because since information technology is moving to new scenarios with new technology, some part of the telescope still remain as old because it's not easy to change. It's not possible to advance at the same speed. For that reason, we need to support that kind of technologies. But in general, we are happy if other departments, engineering or software, trying to upgrade their equipment as fast we are doing in information technology. That is one of the points. In my case, it's my personal opinion. In some cases, the user support is not a good activity that I enjoy all the time. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Because it's about the diversity. It's necessary to know many people, not all the people understand immediately. They have their own ideas how to fix the problems. It's not easy. Even in teleworking. Right now, it's just to provide support any users using remote tools. Anyway, this is my two case of least favorite things about
I
this
wonder
new.
if, like any IT professional, you have sort of the first recommendation of, well, did you turn it off and turn it back on again?
Exactly, exactly.
Um, so what now? I know that your path to working in this astronomy facility was through your work as an electrician and then as an electronics engineer, and so not necessarily directly with astronomy, but we like to ask everyone what their favorite astronomical object is.
Well, this is one special astronomical object. I mentioned the 1987 at the beginning of my presentation, one special year. In February of 1987, this supernova, which denomination is SN 1987A, explodes in large magnetic cloud in the south. And that supernova is really special because it was the first year that I started in Cerro Dololo. But the second thing is, was a more important supernova to the modern astronomers because it was the first one studied in detail, not only by Cerro Dololo, is for many people around the world. And it's still being studied. Even the Hubble telescope in 2011 takes some pictures about the remnant about the supernova. So every time I remember this because when I was working in Cerro Dololo, in the local news appeared this supernova as more important, amazing discovery all the times. So I remember perfectly, and that is my favorite. And still, the people are being studied. I mean, even before to check this information, ALMA Observatory, which is a radio telescope, is still to finding the remnant that left of this supernova. So it's very interesting that element.
And something that you were right there for when it was observed first, and got to sort of be a part of that. I'm sure that was very exciting.
Absolutely.
So we like to ask folks about their typical day at work, and we always caveat it, knowing that a lot of folks, they're not having typical days right now because a lot of people, their jobs have changed in this past year with the pandemic. But I see that you have thoughts about it, both with the COVID-19 contingency and without it. So could you tell us about what your day is like on a typical day?
Well, I mentioned before, we are having in weird times. Even I could mention that during the last 3 weeks, I didn't visit my office. I just working from home. But it's the usual is basically that all days we are checking the night report about the last night observation. This is the first element that we need to confirm about any issue related with information technology that it's our team needs to fix or I need to fix in terms of my responsibilities. Also, we need to attend an internal IT Ops coordination meeting because it's really important for us maintain the coordination of the IT Ops department that is related with the information technology. And additionally to that, we create all days, many Zoom meets, whatever, video conference about scheduling with any other activities. It's usual that in the afternoon, try to do the more operational task or development task. However, it's very frequently that we have meetings with other members that in Hawaii, because due to the time difference, it's possible to start to work with them at 3 p.m. in Chilean local time. So that is as usual right now in our terms.
I've noticed that that's something that seems to be consistent through a lot of different jobs at these observatories. Is one of the first things you do to start your day is to check the report about last night's observations. That seems to be a thread that connects a lot of different types of jobs at the observatories. So we also like to ask about a typical day at home.
Well, the typical day at home, it's basically that it's related with my family, as you know. Normally, in my home, I have my little daughter to try to do the virtual class. She is basically doing a remote class as and we are working remotely too. But we need to maintain some short period of time to do activities. Cooking all days, yes, it's basically that I'm doing, and also I try to do more videos about the situation that happening around the world, especially in United States, because a lot of activities we are absolutely conscious, interested about what happening in United States. We depend on the United States because our organization is 100% of a National Science Foundation. For that reason, is we're interested to that things happening perfectly in terms of to see United States flying and all the activities, especially related with astronomy. Many video conference. The video conference is basically the normality. Not only the work is also to the family, with the contact with the people. Um, and additionally to that, I would like to mention that one of the bad things with information technology, if nobody knows, is study and study. You can't stop. You can't stop. If you stop, you are obsolete, and that is important. So I would like to say that it's really important. Learn how to learn. This is one of the skills that nobody is interested in probably, but it's really important because you need to be high performance. How you are learning the things. If you don't understand that, it will be very difficult to advance in your study and also to be faster and the new knowledge or new technology. I think is one of the key elements that somebody like information technology needs to consider to advance. Is study and study all the time.
You're that's so wise. Such good advice to learn how you learn, right? So to learn what it is that you need to do to be able to absorb the information the best or the most efficiently. Because, like you said, when you're in a job that's constantly changing, you're always going to need to learn. And if you're not doing it efficiently, you won't probably have a good time.
Exactly.
Okay, so we also like to ask about school. So what if you think back to your school, what was your favorite subject when you were in school?
Yeah, that was all time my favorite subject. I not only in my high school because from the beginning I was very curious about the science, not necessarily about technology first. I was my biological science that was my first interest. However, when I started my industrial school, I realized that I like that, and also the not only the typical functionalities of the electrician. It's just basically everything related. especially with physics. So that was my first and favorite subject in the school.
So again, the other side of that coin is what was your least favorite subject when you were in school?
That is it's funny, but it's in accounting class I was asleep. But anyway, it's probably boring matters, but it's really important. I could say now in favor of accounting that it's really important for us to the budget and maintain the control of the elements, the quotes, and many things are really important for that. So now it's not so boring. It's really important in many part of our activity.
All right, so I think our last question that we always ask is what do you like to do for fun? And the reason we ask this is because, of course, everybody who works in a science facility, they're real people just like everybody else, and have full lives outside of their jobs as well. So we'd like to ask a little bit about what you might like to do for fun.
Yes, for fun, even in this COVID-19 contingency, the movies and series are the main activity. I can say that's not easy to do sport, just basically movies and series. My latest one is The Mandalorian, is basically one Chilean actor, is Pedro Pascal, is going to work as a Mandalorian, so it's very nice to see one Chilean successful guy in that industry. But that's it. Me and my daughter, we are seeing many movies during this time. There's weird times, you know.
The Mandalorian was super fun, and Pedro Pascal, he's amazing as that character. So I agree with you.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
very fun distraction in these times. So we like to invite questions from our viewers. So I know we have some viewers here in the Zoom program, and we also have some viewers on Facebook. So if you have any questions for Eduardo about his job or anything that you'd like to know that we didn't cover today, please feel free to leave those in the chat function on Zoom or in the comments on Facebook. And we do have a few questions. So Bob wanted to know, how is IT technology different in a scientific environment than in a typical business environment?
Good question, Bob. In general, we could say that many aspects of the information technology are common. The standard of technology could be especially the same, even the collaborative tools. But what is different? In astronomy, we develop many applications that have a specific functionality that needs probably big storage and a lot of virtualization. And in that terms, that is special to develop the communications. Additionally to that, we could say that some of the scientific data could be important. So we need to protect more than a special business data. Even the data protection or even the encryption of data could be one of the elements that from the scientific side could be important to have the properly infrastructure to provide that solutions. But in general, I could say that the biggest data storage is more the currently development in the industry of the astronomy. I could mention the Vera Rubin Observatory as a very good example in terms of the increasing the capacity of the data collected from the telescope.
Isn't Vera Rubin going to collect like 20 terabytes a night? Something like
Exactly.
that. That's just, I can't even imagine. And then it's going to need to be transferred to sort of instantly, right? Someplace for
I,
storage
I,
in the Center
I
for
could,
Supercomputing.
yes, I could mention that Vera Rubin Observatory has one of the amazing IT infrastructure, and they need to collect biggest data and send to United States to NCSA probably in 8 seconds. So take the data, processing, and send to United States. That is basically that is one of the elements that could be make a difference with the IT business in any other company, but the astronomy. After that, probably one of these elements of the data could be relevant and need to be processed and not publicly, directly, or immediately. It's just basically processed doing a software special and analysis of the astronomers.
Well, Bob has a follow-up question. He wants to know how the support job for this technology is different than it might be in a typical business environment as well.
Well, the support job is a difference in terms of the final instrument or application that we are using it. For example, the information technology engineer needs to be absolutely involved with how the instrument works in general terms to provide the support. So it's basically not only the communication is just an issue, it's also you need to know a little more about detectors, a little more about the actuators that are required to the functionality of the different part of the telescope. I think it's just part of the challenge of the to be very prepared to change the network without the catastrophic consequence in terms of the functionality of the telescope. I think is basically the support. I think is a little different than any other part. But anyway, in industry, you can find many operation technologies that you need to be careful with that or respect some standards about that.
Well, Eduardo, thank you so much for your time and telling us about your job and about your life. I know I think it's really interesting, especially imagining all the different places that you connect and how your job is so vital for everyone else to be able to complete their job. So I really appreciated learning about what you do today. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. And I'd like to mention for all of our viewers and watchers that, of course, this program is part of a series. So the next Real People Big Astronomy program is coming up on May 6th, and we'll be talking with Esteban Parks, who's a telescope manager at CTIO and at SOAR, and I think a few other of the observatories, also in the Andes Mountains in Chile, and then on National Science Foundation funded telescopes. So we'll be looking forward to that on May 6th. And I'd also like to mention that this program is, again, a National Science Foundation funded project, and as such, it has some educational research that's being done on it. So Dr. Shannon Schmull is here and will tell us a little bit about that research.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining on today. Like Renee mentioned, there is a research component to this project. And so we are studying the educational impact of the Big Astronomy project as a whole, as well as how people navigate through the different resources that we have. And you can help us out with that by filling out a survey. And if you have been to these before and would like to fill it out again, please do. And when you fill that out, you are entered in for a chance to win a $10 Amazon gift card. There'll be opportunities to potentially sign up for more ways to talk to us and let us know your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. It helps us with this project and other projects moving forward. So thank you very much. And I will put the information in the chat and the comments for both Zoom and Facebook.
Thank you, Shannon. And Eduardo, I don't see any other questions coming in here, but I did want to tell you that Gabrielle is watching from Bogota, Colombia, and says, may the force be with you. So I think she is also and enjoys Star Wars or The Mandalorian.
Yes,
So
right.
thank you everyone for tuning in. Let's give a virtual round of applause for Eduardo for sharing his information with us. And we'll see you all next time when we're talking with Esteban Parks in May. So thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Very nice. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.